Hello, everybody. My name is Drew Dosek, and welcome to Trading to Close. Today, we had a lot of float up action in the markets, but it was somewhat muted. It wasn't a lot of volatility. And I think we're looking at earnings that's going to create the next stir in the pot for the markets. And we're going to get into that today. We're going to look over 4 charts that do have earnings. Plus, we're going to compare Netflix. Incredible run on that stock compared to the other mega caps and how much higher Netflix is. All right, so let's jump first up into the data, and we'll get into this information right here. So we've got here, you see on the left-hand side of the screen, the Dow Jones up 0.9%, NASDAQ up 0.5%, S&P 500 up 0.75%. U.S. oil is down 2.63%, breaking that area of the trend line we've been watching. And we have gold down slightly too. We've got an update there for you. I want to show you on the chart here in a little bit. Then we have Bitcoin that is moderately flat, up 0.37%. We've got a lot of green on the screen because we've had a moderately up day on the markets. It didn't start off that way. We gapped down and then just proceeded to push higher in the markets. A lot of slow buying pressure is really hitting the stocks at this moment. So, all right, so let's jump into the spiders. And we see here in this inclining trend line, price action is really following this inclining trend line over the last several days. This sort of action right here tells me price action is getting a little exhausted. It wouldn't surprise me if we started to curl over in the next day or two, coming down, touching these support areas roughly at 541, and then this other support area right here about 536, 537. All right, then we have resistance on the upside at 563.23. Notice we haven't yet filled this gap fill. This gap fill here occurred on Liberation Day. Right before the markets crashed down, we had this gap fill that has not yet been tagged. Gap fill here is 564.52. Pay attention to that in the near term. Bitcoin just is chopping right here beneath this parallel. Really not much to report here. As I said, the same thing applies what I mentioned yesterday to today. Next level of resistance is at 100,000. Support is at 88,000. On to gold. Now check this out. Gold is still putting in this consolidation, this bearish consolidation. But if you flip over to the weekly chart, what do we have developing right there? We have price action this week chopping around after a beautiful topping tail on the weekly chart of gold. All of that with this topping tail combined with this bearish consolidation all tells me that we're likely going lower on gold in the near term. As I mentioned before, around 3,100 is the first area of resistance, followed by $3,088 will be that next in this support zone. On to silver. Silver right here, we still do have a little bit of bullish consolidation right here. It's about to break. Should we get underneath this green candle right here at about $32.66, that will then trigger this all being a little bit more bearish, and price will start to come down on silver. So this bull flag, this was an immature bull flag and is starting to fail. Well, let's watch price action tomorrow, and we'll update you on the price trajectory at that point. Here we see U.S. oil made an attempt to come up and break in above this trend line, but has since now failing. So it's coming back down. If we do break down underneath the low pivot, we have a measured move target for oil down at $53.15. I still think that needs to get hit, or at least get a little bit closer than where this candle was here. All the while, there still will be decent support right down here at the bottom of the pivots, right around $59 should selling proceed with oil. Into natural gas. Natural gas, look where it popped up to. Technical analysis is beautiful. You can see this stuff on the charts. We review it every single day. It's still fascinating whenever we see it hit exactly on these levels and go and stop right into resistance, much like what we're seeing here on natural gas. Natural gas is going straight back up into that trend line and has since faded right back down. This area will be resistance on the charts for nat gas. So this area moves up. It's a dynamic trend line, so it moves up the longer that time passes. So tomorrow it's going to be about 350. If we move down a few more days, it's going to be closer to 360 of resistance. Should we consolidate on that line, we have a good chance of breaking through. Into the US dollar, not too much to report here, just still in bullish consolidation phase, even though this drop down candle happened yesterday, still qualifies for bullish consolidation. We'll check back tomorrow to see if there's any changes on the dollar. Till then, a resistance at $100.42, support down here at $94.93. Now into Netflix. I wanted to show you this and really compare all the different mega cap stocks. Because when you look at the mega cap stocks and compare it to this chart of Netflix, it doesn't make any sense. Now, of course, Netflix is not going to be affected by a lot of these tariffs. So some of that selling pressure did hit the other mega caps harder, but Netflix is making brand new all-time highs, and the mega caps aren't anywhere close. So let's take a look and you'll see exactly where these levels are on charts and see the big comparison and how much divergence is taking place where people are exiting these mega caps such as Apple, Microsoft, Google, and have since been putting it into Netflix. That's the only explanation for a move up like this. So into Netflix, again, you see on the daily chart here, one of our members did provide a beautiful parallel that I did connect here and put through on this chart. I had 2 day trades in Netflix today. One was successful and one was not. But this price just kept getting pushed higher and higher into the charts. I noticed here with this inclining trend line, the next major area of resistance on the chart is going to be right around $1,200. Top end of that parallel is 1235. And this trend line is intersecting right in between there. So all of that makes sense for a next major area of resistance. However, I really don't think it's going to get there. Look at this negative divergence that's occurring on the charts. We have a higher RSI, lower RSI, then a lower RSI. So that's telling me Netflix, much like how I talked about gold for several weeks with its RSI divergence, Netflix is due for a correction and a pullback, I would say at least to this $1,023 area. Now let's look at some other mega cap names and let's compare where they are in the charts. Netflix, again, at all-time highs. Tesla down at 292 from 480. We look at AVGO, another mega cap stock, down from 250 to 191. Amazon, you have a big fall from there, down from the 240s down to 187. Google, and Google's coming up. We've got earnings that just transpired with that. We've got Microsoft that has earnings on Thursday. We've got a lot of earnings to go through. 4 charts, as I said, we'll go through here in just a moment. And this stock too, Google, way down on the charts. Nvidia, same thing, way down on the charts. And so my point is, here's Apple and also Meta. Meta also way down on the charts, followed up by Microsoft. But my point is, Netflix, look at this beast. It is a monumental move from this low, pushing up now 35% on the charts. Incredible move on Netflix, but this is ripe for a short play if you're interested in swinging this position. Now into some earnings. Meta does have earnings, as you see down here. They will report on Wednesday. So after the bell, we've got some earnings for Meta tomorrow. So to prep for that, we do have first level of resistance right up here at 575.60. But if we do see any selling pressure, this gap fill right here, right, the $500 mark, that will be great support for the near term, especially for a day trade after hours with earnings. Into Microsoft. Microsoft right here has achieved a great accomplishment, getting back up into this declining parallel. But it did so very early on, and then it secured, confirmed, and it continued pushing higher. Right now into resistance with all these pivots. Next stop of resistance is going to be the $400 mark, followed by this declining 50% area at 405. Should earnings really excel and beat beyond expectation, including guidance, the very top upside I see is 431.02. Notice that declining trend line. I doubt Microsoft gets back up to the top end of this parallel in this current environment that we're in at the moment. Now into Hood. Hood also reports earnings on Wednesday after the bell. And you can see here, price is starting to put in an immature bull consolidation pattern on the chart. And we haven't yet broken above this pivot. Earnings could be that tipping point to push us over the top. And so some stocks need that extra push. That could be the case for what's going on with Robinhood right now. But you've always got to be careful and cautious to react to the price. You know, you can react to the movement, short when stocks rip, and you can buy when the stocks dip. That way you keep yourself at least risk when you're analyzing stocks for technical analysis. So with Hood, you see right here, the next area of resistance, $52.68, followed by $61.22. Way up on the chart, won't be tagged by earnings, but this area could be tagged right down here at $43.78 on the chart. Now, should this trend line get broken, we have a gap fill right here at $42 that will also be support. Into Qualcomm. Qualcomm also has earnings Wednesday after the bell. So we see these levels that I've got here on the chart. If you notice too, if I scroll back on the chart, we have this declining trend line that price is trying to get back in. So we're already into resistance. Should earnings beat expectations, we could gap above this resistance, which will free up a lot of space for Qualcomm to run. These pivots right here will be the first area of resistance right at 160, followed by major resistance at 164.64. Now, if earnings do disappoint, we're now looking down at 131.69. All right. Now, I know I fired off a lot of levels for you and a lot of numbers, but that's for you guys to jot down. Make sure you have those ready in case you guys are interested in trading the earnings. Earnings are a wild card. I advise you react to these rather than go into embedding. Otherwise, it's like gambling. But you've got the levels. Good luck to you and everybody. I'll be back on tomorrow to go over more earnings for Thursday, as we've got Apple and other big players that are going to be reporting. This week is one of my favorite weeks. We should have plenty of trading opportunities to go through. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. My name's Drew. You guys have a great rest of the day, and we'll look forward to seeing you and bringing you some more news tomorrow. All righty. You guys take care. Bye-bye.